Hello and welcome to the Sports Box. And we're back again after a long break. And obviously, this has been one of the most exciting spells of football that we've seen in a long time. There are big matches, big European matches literally every day. And one great match, which we witnessed yesterday was the PSG Atlanta game. I think it was one of the most amazing games with not the most extraordinary scores. So it's just a 2-1 game where we saw all the emotion. We saw the underdog coming out on top. Almost sort of defending the lead for the entire game, and then those 6-7 minutes of football towards the end of the game, and PSG come back into the game. And out of all the players, all the usual suspects, the Neymar, the Mbappe, it was Marquinhos who got the first goal, and Choupo-Moting was the one who had a major hand in both of the goals. Scored the second one and was involved in the build-up to the first. So I think it was a terrific game. Almost every neutral was sort of wooing for Atalanta because it's unreal the way they performed and the way they started. I think the first half they didn't give PSG a chance. Apart from that first one-on-one with Neymar had, they didn't have a lot of good quality chances. Atlanta were dominating, and an ex-Chelsea player, Pasalic, scored that brilliant goal. It was a very well taken finish, and it just set the game up. Again, Atlanta trying all they could to sort of keep the lead, and then PSG putting on all their stars, bringing on Mbappe, Neymar, and trying to win that game towards the end of the game. So it was a thrilling game. Puneet, your thoughts on that game, because it was a roller coaster of a game, and we had so many emotions, and eventually we had a stoppage time goal, which was crazy. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, brilliant game, right? Like, and proper cup football, if you can call it. They knew there was only one match to play. Both had to play their hearts out. PSG kept creating chance after chance. Atlanta did everything in their power to defend. They were, in fact, Atlanta to me were the better side in the first 45 minutes. Although Neymar had a couple of chances, but if you see the kind of football that Atlanta were playing in terms of the Gomez was extremely influential at number 10. Hassanbohr and Zapata were very effective, and you could see a pattern that Atlanta had. And while on the exact opposite end you had Neymar, who had you had PSG, who knew that if you give it to a Neymar or a Icardi, they were the one who would end up creating, and Sarabia, who started the first half, who would end up doing and going one. So it was like a team against a couple of individuals. I read somewhere, it's exactly similar to what Messi faces with Argentina. Like, Messi is the only one who's sort of creating chance after chance, and there were very few players. And only when an Mbappe came in the second half is when you could see Neymar and Mbappe connecting. But I think a few mistakes with Atlanta did in the end was there was so much pressure that they kept falling behind in defense, and Mbappe could always turn because Caldera and the likes always knew that Mbappe couldn't be beaten for pace, and even Neymar for that matter couldn't be beaten. So extremely unfortunate for Atlanta. They showed the world what a low budget, like they have the entire squad has a budget lower than and a salary lower than Mbappe and Neymar. So that just speaks volumes at the shoestring budget that the club is playing at. And kudos to Gasperini to the way that he has made, because they are very average players. We are speaking about Caldera, and we are speaking about Hassanbohr and Martin Dirun. So these, and Zapata and Gomez, these are very, very they are skillful, but they aren't highly rated per se, or they aren't they require a system, and the system gets the best out of them. It's not the other way around, where a Neymar or a Messi, who you just put them there, and you can make a system around them. So this is what Gasperini has done, and that's complete credit to him. And fortunate, and not fortunate, but I mean, because they made their own fortune, to be honest. PSG, you have to give them credit where it's due, because I think they have been questioned heavily always on the mental ability and mental fortitude that they have, PSG. And yesterday was one moment where you could actually feel Tuchel knowing that if he doesn't win the game, he's out. So I think that's they did come back. They have better players coming in the second leg and in the semi-finals. Like so, Verratti is supposed to be fit. Di Maria might be fit. So this team can only become better. And if they sort of do plan well, PSG look. Uh, I think they would face one of Atletico or Leipzig, right? So there is a very strong chance they could actually feature in the final this year.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there. But if you actually look at the managers, I would probably go far as to say, in spite of the result, there is one manager who's sort of overachieving by a country mile, and there's another one who's sort of underachieving because when
Totally, yeah.
Tuchel actually took over PSG, they called him a tactical genius, and it's been a couple of years now, and there's
Seasons,
nothing to
yeah.
show. I mean, obviously they're going to win the league, so Juventus sacked Sarri after they won the league because that is a foregone conclusion. It's not even like they're competing for it because no one has the financial muscle power to do so. But I think they've been a little underwhelming in their Champions League expedition so far, considering the last season. And I don't think they have it in them to sort of come out and beat a European superpower in a knockout phase. So if you're talking about a big team, I remember they had one chance where against Barcelona where they actually ended up losing in the second leg, which was like
5-4,
8-5.
something.
I mean, they conceded 5 goals away from home, which is crazy. So you expect these teams to do better with the quality of players they have, the investments they've made, and I sort of still think that the strategy with the PSG is get the ball to Neymar and Mbappe and
Yeah, yeah,
let
yeah.
them make things happen. And if there's a Di Maria in there, so even better. As a third person playing in three defensive midfielders and then just
Yeah.
hoping that these people do something, which is fair enough. You what they're trying to do is trying to get out the best of their players. But when you don't have one of them, you need to sort of reshuffle your tactics. And if an
And don't you think tactically, like Champions League is never won on individuals? Like you see the champions, and I'm going to ask you because Chelsea had one like that, United have one like that, and even other teams. Like there has to be some tactical acumen,
correct.
and there
Tactical
was nothing.
acumen, there has to be some synergy, there has to be a cohesiveness in the
Correct.
team, which these people lack. I think that you will not see uh, the cohesiveness that a Bayern team which won the Champions League had, under Jupp Heynckes, because in
Oh
spite of
yeah,
being top quality players, the work rate that a Ribery and a Robin were putting in for their team is what makes a great team. That is
absolutely
why you look at the
true.
work rate of the great Barcelona team, which dominated the Madrid teams. They were tactically so good, and everyone knew what they had to
Yeah,
do, and they would do their job. We tend to give individual players a lot of credit. Like we do give Ronaldo and Messi a lot of credit for what they do, and rightfully so. They've been, one of the top scorers, and they've assisted a lot as well, especially Messi over the recent past. But I think unless and until you have that perfect team synergy going and everyone knows their job, I don't think you can win a tournament like that. You can have an average or an above average squad and still win the Champions League, and you can have one of the best squads without any cohesiveness and still
correct.
not winning. So like the famous
Good point.
Galactico side, when they had likes of David Beckham, Zidane, Ronaldo, they didn't win a La Liga together. David Beckham
Yeah, yeah.
and Ronaldo haven't won a La Liga together. I think Ronaldo won it in 2002, and when Ronaldo left, David Beckham won it. So they have individually won it, but not together. So
Yeah.
that is what happens, and that is what this PSG team has become. I think they need to invest carefully. And speaking of investments, one of the biggest investments in world football, Neymar, he had a very interesting game. He took on almost everyone and beat them, but then he couldn't get that end product. He got like a couple of great chances. One of them was given to him on a platter, and the other one was which he went past so many players and created for himself, and a few more, few half chances, but none of them got converted. So I personally think that is a little alarming, considering that then you pay so much money for a player, you expect that, right? You're paying this money for a forward. I wouldn't even call him a midfielder or a winger. He's a proper forward, in whatever position he plays. And if he is not doing it at the big stage, and imagine if a Choupo-Moting has to do the dirty, has to do the finishing for you, and Icardi was invisible in that game. I think he's a terrific player, but
Yeah.
he's lost his mojo in the last couple of seasons, and
Hmm.
it's alarming. So I don't think that PSG can progress further. I mean, I think an Atletico will sort of
Yeah, that
get
is true.
the
Yeah,
weakness. And even if they do, I don't think they can go all the way, because I think a Bayern or City or a Barcelona would be much more, bigger favorite to
cohesive.
happen
Yeah,
because of their overall squad. And Bayern, I think, are my pick because I think that having seen them over two legs demolishing Chelsea after sort of also demolishing Spurs 7-2 in one game. So I know the quality that they possess under Hansi Flick. And so yeah, that's about it. Also, as we're recording this, we have the Atletico versus Leipzig game, which is happening.
Leipzig game.
And big team news from that is that João Felix hasn't started the game, which is really weird. So you can expect Diego Simeone. I think he gets away with playing a lot of negative football. So Jose Mourinho, for that matter, gets a lot of stick for playing the similar kind of football. And I think till one point of time he didn't have a team who could play that well. But I think if you look at the individual players at Atletico right now, they've got some great players. They've got Saul, they've got Koke, they've got Diego Costa is back with
Diego
them.
Costa,
They've got
Carrasco.
Yao Felix, who's a terrific player. So I
Oh
don't
yeah, yeah.
I don't know why they play like that, but I think this is something which works really well for them. So why change something which is working for you? They've reached two finals. So obviously the game we're not going to make any predictions on that game because by the time this episode goes on air, the result will already have. The result will already be out there, so we don't want to make predictions on this and make a fool out of ourselves. So, what do you think? I mean, what do you think about the team news? Obviously, Leipzig have lost out on Timo Werner. How big a loss do you think he will be for the team?
Massive, massive. He is their number one player. I mean, he is irreplaceable, kind of, and it just, I mean, just the circumstances of the transfer that happened, and I think it is going to show. I like you rightly said, Atletico, they will play defensively. This 1-0 is their dream score. He would actually set teams up. You can see how he has. I mean, he has Carrasco, he has Lorente, Koke, Herrera, and Niguez. So there are like 4 to 5 central midfielders playing just behind Diego Costa. So that is just going to be so they are going to really, sort of congest the midfield and congest the playing areas as much as they can, and then attack with the likes of Diego Costa or even through a set piece. But I have got good reviews, and I've seen Poulsen play very well. I've seen Olmo, who's I think Danish
Actually, one
international,
of
who's
the best players after Timo Werner is Nkunku, who's like played really.
Kunku, yeah, he's very, very good. Yeah, he's a very good on right. One of the right wingers who was sort of listed because United are looking after X number of right wingers right now. So,
Mhm.
so he was also another one who's doing, who has got very good, reviews. Then there's Upamecano, who's everyone in the Europe was looking for a
Then there's
center
Klosterman, who's
back, and
actually a German international.
oh yeah, yeah,
So they've got a lot of good players, and let's just touch upon their manager. Julian Nagelsmann is one
oh
of the
man,
youngest managers in world football. He's still 33. He had a good stint with the likes of Hoffenheim, and now he's at
definitely.
Leipzig and playing with a lot of young players. That's how they've been. And what I've heard of him, that he doesn't want his players to be stuck at Leipzig, so he wants them to reach higher levels. So he would be very happy for a Werner to make his move to a Chelsea, or say if an Upamecano moves to a bigger clubs, to a Real Madrid or Barcelona in the future, he would be more than happy for him. So he's a very good manager, and I think that it'll be a good competition between a seasoned veteran like a Diego Simeone, who's been doing his thing for a while now, and a 33-year-old young manager who finally has a team who can sort of compete. He probably doesn't have a team who can win the Champions League, but with Hoffenheim, he used to struggle against the bigger teams. But now he does have a few very good quality players where he could give it a tough fight. So I think that would be an interesting game. And then
Yeah,
again,
Nagelsmann is a good manager to. I mean, he does set them up well. He does. I mean, their team is going to be tactically very nice. So it's going to be a good brainy battle actually, right? Because Nagelsmann also has this pressing game which they play, which actually Werner was a very important part of because he used to run behind the defenders with the speed and then play in the number 9, 10, the false nine, right wing, left wing positions, and that is going to be an interesting watch.
Yeah, he's improved a lot of players. Werner has improved, 28 goals and 10 assists in a season. He started assisting under him because he realized that he had to keep hold of the ball and, not just run at defenders because that's his USP. He's added a lot of new dimensions to his game. So I think he's a brilliant coach, and it would be a very interesting game, because it's going to be offense versus defense, and experience versus sort of
Yeah,
the youth of a manager who's
yeah,
like younger than a lot of players who are playing the professional game at this time.
yeah.
So it's going to be a very interesting game. And speaking of interesting games, the only team which is left in the Champions League, the only English team which is still relevant, in Manchester City, they go up against Lyon. Lyon, for that matter, actually ended up defeating Juventus, who were
Juventus, yeah.
among the top few teams which we expected to compete for the Champions League this year. But then, unfortunately, they couldn't really go through. So, what do you think is going to happen in that game? Because City absolutely dominated Real Madrid for two legs. Obviously it wasn't the best Madrid team. Hazard wasn't fully fit, and there was a big stoppage between the two legs. Obviously, I thought that Madrid would do better, but Varane making a couple of huge errors
Yeah.
on that night. So, what do you think? I mean, how do you think that's going to pan out? I personally think that City are going to be favorites for it, but I wouldn't go against Lyon upsetting them because they've done that before in the group stages last year, in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. So what are your thoughts on that game?
Leon actually and Rudy Garcia have done pretty well, and they have some they have had Aouars and Depay and these kind of players who have been really good for the last even Dembele as a striker and all these guys have been again another example of the team as a cohesive unit doing extremely well rather than having individual talent. Like Aouar is now being touted by everyone in Europe, and he's only 22. And I was reading that he's one of the best central midfielders, box to box midfielders that that are present in the country and who are sort of coming up. So uh, that's the kind of team I think Lyon is. They are again going to be uh, a real force. I have a very strong feeling that this City lineup could, because it's make or break for Pep, right? He has won only I think the Carabao Cup this season, and that's the only thing which they have. So he knows that there is uh, a competition which he can win this time. I think only Bayern, to me right now in this position, only Bayern are better than Man City. And if they have a bad day, and if same City Bayern play at any stage, I think only then City get a chance to win. So if City are the second best team, I think it would be tough because no champion and we were discussing this yesterday, right? Like no Champions League game is ever easy. You barely see teams being thrown away until whenever something like this happens, it's one of the biggest surprises because uh, proper quality, proper tactic, proper strategy goes behind
Right.
such matches, and that's why it makes for such a beautiful spectacle and extreme high, again high quality of players right from Lyon to Man City. Um, I expect City to win this game. I expect City to score a lot of goals. Jesus has started scoring again. Sterling and De Bruyne are again achieving their peak, and David Silva might get a few minutes. So if and Laporte is fit too, so that's a massive positive for City. Um, I think City would win this 3-1 or 2-1 at least.
Yeah, even I think City are favorites, but again, it's again going to be a team which is going to frustrate them. It's not going to be easy pickings for them
Correct.
because they have a lot of good players in there. An Awar who is up for grabs for one of the best teams in Europe. All of them want him, and too many big players on City's end, and you look at the form. Kevin De Bruyne has been in this over the season. You look at a Sterling who's been scoring goals off late, especially towards the latter end of the season. And then again, they're the usual suspects. There's a Gundogan who puts in a fine shift. Then Fernandinho is back, who's again one of the most integral parts of balancing the attacking play of Manchester City, because otherwise they seem to have no shape if he's not there. He's the guy who sort of keeps things together. So a lot of good things happening for them, and I think Lyon have done well, and they've sort of punched above their weight, but I don't see them going too far in the competition. And again, that would bring us to one of the biggest games that's going to take place. And I think the kind of superstars that we're going to watch in that game is exceptional. I think Bayern versus Barca, I haven't seen such a heavyweight tie for a long time in terms of probably the best 10 of the 20 best players, or say at least 7, 8 of the 20 best players in the world are playing. You look at the
Out
Lewandowski.
of them, five, if you're taking 7, 8, I think 5 of them are in Bayern.
Yeah,
And those
exactly.
5
Yeah.
are in the top 10.
Which is surprising,
Good.
because we've
That's
associated
true.
with Barcelona being the one having the most star players. But if you actually look at the current Barcelona team, it's nowhere close to what it used to be. They still have good individuals, but I think you look at a Griezmann who's like a top player. He's a World Cup winner. You can't sort of win any bigger than
Undermined.
that. And he's been an integral part of that squad, and he's done really well for Atletico Madrid as well. He was very good for Sociedad as well, but he certainly hasn't really fit in well. There's a Suarez who's been like a he has been, he's still currently he may not be, but he's held that throne which Lewandowski holds right now as one of the best centre forwards in the world. So you look at the kind of but this Bayern team is scary. I've had the you know I don't know what to call it. I will definitely not call it an opportunity, but I've had to go through the misery of watching Chelsea play Bayern over 2 legs and get absolutely decimated. I've never seen Chelsea get decimated like this in a team. And Chelsea have played Liverpool, City. They've even they beat both Liverpool and City. Obviously, Liverpool in the FA Cup, City in the league. But I've never seen a team like Bayern Munich. You look at every position that they're playing it. You look at the development of Narby, who was like a sort of fringe or squad player for Arsene
Arsenal.
Wenger at Arsenal, and then you look at players, veterans like Coutinho and Perisic, who are not first choice players. You look at Thiago Alcantara, who's sort of just dominating, controlling games. You look at an Alaba who used to be one of the most highly rated left backs, but now is probably one of the best centre backs around. And you have a Boateng who's sort of revived his career. He put Sula and Hernandez on the bench, which is
Yeah,
absolute
man.
crazy stuff. And then not to forget Joshua Kimmich, who would be in the top. I think if he plays at right back, he's one of the best. He is the best right back in the world. I think
Yeah.
I would consider him better than Trent Alexander-Arnold, and if he plays,
Totally, man. Yeah.
he would still be in the top 5, 10 midfielders in the world, which is crazy.
Correct. Yeah.
The quality that these guys have is absolutely crazy. But the most important thing in that team is that the work rate and the effort that they put in, they play an extremely high line, which is something which I
Oh my
think,
God, yeah.
you know, um,
It was unbelievable for me because I wasn't watching the game I was watching the game as a neutral, and they were on the half line. Like the commentator actually told I mean, he made a comment stating that, if I'm Lampard, the only thing I'll do or tell my team to do is just lob the ball ahead, because that's how high they were.
yeah, but the point is, they don't even give you enough time to lob the ball.
Correct.
That is a problem. So, in spite of having, a couple of young players playing, and Chelsea were anyways with a depleted,
Yeah.
probably if a Pulisic would have been there, we would have had a runner from the wing who could, create some kind of impact. And we've seen his impact in big games, over
Correct.
the latter part of the season. He can sort of come and dominate any. But in spite of that, I never saw Chelsea winning that. I thought that even if we draw, in the second leg. That would be a very big achievement, because this is that good a team. They're 18 games beaten across all. No, it's not an unbeaten streak. It's a 18-game winning streak across all competition, and it's crazy stuff. So I just, if I was a Barcelona fan, I would be sweating right now, because I've never seen Barcelona going into a game as underdogs for the last so many years. So this is going to
Mhm.
be new territory for Barcelona. What do you think? I mean, how would you think that a Barcelona would come up against this, sort of Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich, because it's a different beast altogether.
See, there are a lot of interesting subplots to it, right? The only two teams that have won the Champions League, and I think this is their record-breaking quarterfinal as well. I was reading some stat that they have two teams which have record-breaking quarterfinals, and have won 5 times. So proper history behind it. I mean, they know the thick and thin of Champions League. They have been there, done that. The point here is how do they actually come up? Because like we were discussing in City's case, Barcelona can only win if Bayern have a bad game. Simple as that. They cannot win even if Bayern have an above average game. They are winning this game, because that's how good, like you were discussing, their quality is. And the only way Barcelona can have a chance is when they defend unbelievably well. Busquets or De Jong has an unparalleled game. And Messi is at his who anyway is at his peak, has to perform perhaps at the best of his path, and Suarez sort of comes back. That shall give them a chance. That does not even, make them the favorites or make them someone who Bayern should fear. Because, like you said, you have seen them play, but at least as neutrals, the way we have been seeing them for the last some time. I mean, it's extraordinary. They were actually third at a point in time before Hansi Flick came in, and Kovac left, and that is how they grew. They won 18 matches on the trot. The cohesiveness again with such high quality players. That's the point, right? Lewandowski, Gnabry,
100 goals in the
Muller.
Bundesliga. 100 goals in the Bundesliga, which is again very tough.
But Lewandowski has actually, that's so crazy his record is, man. Like, I mean, he's just been bonkers season on season. And you can understand Bundesliga, but Champions League is a different territory. And he's actually, like, he's put some 11 goals, 12 goals, something like that in the Champions League as well. So, I mean, putting it straight, I think Barcelona will have to play out of their skins, and Bayern will have to be really poor on the day for this to happen. And unfortunately, all I hear from Barcelona fans is that tactically, Kike Santin isn't the best, and that is what is actually going to matter, because Hansi Flick has his team. He's going to put them out there. He has players after players to bring even from the bench, and very easily he could change the formation, and they sort of gel so well. And this is it is going to be a massive ask if Barcelona even think of coming back. And they've been in poor form post the restart, right? And because I think they were ahead before the restarts happened, and Madrid actually overtook them to win the league. So I mean, I can't see this game going anywhere but Bayern. And to me too, like you're saying, Bayern are the favorites. If this goes according to plan for them, they would win every match starting now, and very easy. Like, I'm not saying they would actually scrape through, because
No,
it's a
no.
Champions League. They are actually that good that they could win 3-0, 3-0, 2-0 easy, without having to work hard. Without, I mean, not that they won't work hard, but it will be that easy. They won't be under
Without having
tremendous
to shift
pressure.
gears, for that matter, without
Correct.
having to play in top gear. So that is the strength that this current Bayern team possesses. And the problem with Barcelona I've seen is that they've had a lot of average managers. You look at their managers since, say, Enrique left, and I think that they generally try to obviously have homegrown managers. So you should have had a history playing with Barcelona, but again, that's not fair, getting them anywhere. And Pep Guardiola obviously sort of was an exception, and he absolutely, revolutionized football at that age. When he actually took over that Barcelona team. But I don't think they are so good with their appointments. They haven't been very good in the transfer market, and that is why it was very rare. It's not that they haven't spent money; they've spent good money, but in spite of that, they've sort of lagged behind over the past few years. And I think that this Bayern team, actually, it's a funny fact, when Hansi Flick actually took over, Bayern was fourth in the table. So it's not that
Oh, that's what. Yeah,
yeah, it's not that this team was doing well under different management. It's
exactly.
just that management changed, the playing style changed, and everything changed altogether. So I think we sort of underestimate sometimes how important the manager is, and that is why I think Barcelona making so many bad appointments back to back is led to the downfall. So let's just hope things go well, and irrespective of who wins, because none of our teams are in it, and so it
We
doesn't
look
matter.
forward to matches like yesterday, man. Like
Yeah,
beautiful match
exactly.
to
This
just
has been one
watch.
of the best football matches. And just a final minute on Manchester United playing Sevilla. What are your thoughts for that? Because
On
obviously
Sunday, yeah.
Europa League
Oh,
made.
to me, it's a very difficult game. I think as a United fan, I don't think so. It is because Sevilla, I had a glimpse. I did not see the entire game, but I had a glimpse. And Lopetegui has done a fabulous job. Again, very well gelled. They barely gave a chance to Wolves. I don't remember. I mean, barring the penalty, Wolves were defending almost the entire game. I think they had a possession stat at a point in time of 27%. So that's how good Sevilla were. So apart from that Traore run and a few couple of headers which Jimenez and Co had, there weren't too many chances. Diego Carlos is been very highly touted anyway by a lot of these European clubs, the centre back, and it's a tough game. It's a tough game. It's a revenge game, especially since that Jose incident where United lost to Sevilla. Ole has gotten more money to spend, more has a better team than what Jose had. So no doubt, I think he'll have to be at his strategic tactical best. It's going to be a good game. If the actual free flowing United do turn up, it's going to be a good game. But uh, fingers crossed, man. I genuinely hope United play well because it's a tough game. And Sevilla are masters of Europa.
Hmm.
I think
Actually,
they perhaps
I happened to watch the entire game, and I think that Sevilla were really top notch. I think Wolves had a
like
bright 5 minute spark in the beginning of the game, and after that, barring that penalty, I don't think there was too much in the game from Wolves. They had like 20 something percent possession, and Wolves is not an easy team to beat. If you
exactly,
actually look
man.
at
Yeah.
it, so they are very comfortable getting draws from bigger teams, and even beating.
And they play on that, right? They play on defending and counter attacking. That is what they were doing the entire game, and you saw them being so uh, not being able to do that. Like they were never able to counter attack.
Yeah, and in fact, not only Diego Carlos, but his centre back partner, he's also very highly rated. Kunde, he's a
Something like that. Kunde.
21-year-old guy who's done really well for them, and they've got Reguilon and at left back, who's being quoted by one of the top clubs in Europe. Even Chelsea are interested. Napoli have an agreement with him as well. So big clubs are coming in from him. They've got a Navas playing at right back. He used to be a winger,
Uh,
and you look at Ocampos, who's again a terrific player,
oh,
and United didn't do themselves any big favors by their performance against Copenhagen, which was again very, very sort of disoriented for that matter. It's not that they weren't playing well, but it was not free flowing.
patches.
Yeah, it
Going
was
patches.
very patchy. It was very shoddy, and it wasn't the level that we've seen United play. I think they were United. If you actually look at their last 5-7 results, they have sort of. I probably the fatigue has
There's
kicked
a lot
in.
of tiredness as
Yeah,
a fan. I
and
think I see there's a lot of tiredness and
and that spark which sort of Bruno Fernandes ignited is
correct
sort
had
of
gotten it.
fading out
Yeah.
slowly. So you know, Pogba had a good game for that matter. Pogba, I think, had one of his better games because he was not very good in the last two Premier League games. He made a couple of errors, was giving the ball away. That terrible handball against West Ham, which cost you the game, which is pretty stupid. But he sort of showed, which is again very frustrating. I'm sure he has all the talent in the world, but he struggles with that consistency. If a consistent Pogba plays like 40 games like that a season, you would, shut your eyes and want him to be, and would say he's your best player.
Talisman,
He's
yeah.
got more ability than Bruno Fernandes, but Bruno sort of has that fighter instinct, even
Correct.
he's
Correct.
not having a good game. I don't think he's played particularly well in the last few games, but he still keeps on trying and getting there, and
Correct.
somehow he's
Correct. Yeah.
he's a good penalty taker. You could give credit for that, because United were
Yeah.
struggling initially, so he sorted that problem out for them. But
Yeah.
and United took get a lot of penalties. I personally thought that Martial pen, if it wouldn't have been given, it wouldn't have been the biggest howlers or something. It was one of those decisions. If the ref, it was like an umpire's call in cricket, where if he gives it out, then it's sort of out. If he doesn't give it, it wouldn't have been that drastic that they would have overturned it. So it was again,
Correct.
50 call. So I don't know. I would want to watch United play Inter in the final, but I think that Sevilla have.
Sevilla has a very good
I think
chance. Yeah.
it's not that Man United are favorites. It's going to be an even game, and both teams are going to
Correct.
try to win it. But I don't know how much. I don't know what percentage is the charge. The batteries of the Man United players are charged, because I don't think they have a lot left in them. And considering the fact that they're going to have a early kickoff next season, I think it could even hamper the initial part of the next season. But obviously, you're a big club, you don't want to miss out on a trophy. There's revenue which comes along with it, and there's prestige, and Ole winning him his first trophy would give him a lot of confidence. He's had his fair share of criticism, and rightfully so in certain parts, but he's done well in this latter part, and he's sort of getting the results. I think
Covered up the initial bit.
he somehow, there was a phase for 7-8 games where he was just blowing away oppositions, but now he's in that phase where he's sort of just scraping through the line. So I think that's about it. Thank you so much, Puneet, for joining me. It was a very interesting chat, and we'll definitely, there were some technical errors because of glitches because of which we couldn't post, and we'll definitely be posting more often now. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and please subscribe to the Sports Box. So, Puneet, any parting words, just before we finish? It's just 1 minute.
That's it, man. That's it. No, that's it, man. I mean, please keep coming on board. We have seen a certain rise in our subscribers. Thank you so much for joining, and please keep liking. Please keep sharing your views. This is your page. This is page for the fans. We are just as as much ardent football fans as you are. And look forward. Bayern Munich and Man United.
All right. So that's about it. Good night, and thank you so much.